Alright, so it looks like I left out a part in our first video, so I've added the whole vegetable section here. It shows how to prepare for the boil, so let's take a look at that now. Alright, now comes the fun part. We're going to talk about some of the things that we're going to put in. The two main things, or three main things at first, are going to be potatoes, onions, and garlic. Now these three items are going to take the longest to cook, so they'll go in first. The last things are going to be mushrooms and corn, because they're going to be relatively fast. We'll put the sausage cut up in there at some point, and we'll squeeze a couple of lemons in there. A lot of people cut lemons and throw them in there to their seafood bowls. We kind of don't like the heavy kind of flavor that the lemon puts on the seafood that's touching it. So we're probably just going to squeeze the lemon in there, and then once we squeeze them enough, we'll probably put them aside and just let the lemon juice add to the bowl. But most people are going to argue that you have to throw the lemons in. Now, one thing I want to point out is the potatoes. I know many people are going to say it's the wrong kind of potatoes, that they use the red baby potatoes. And we used to use those for many years, but well, actually now for many years we've been using the russet potatoes. We get a real good result from them. The one thing though that we do is everybody likes to go for the middle pieces because you get spices absorbed on both sides of the potato, and a way to kind of cheat that is if you cut off these ends before you triple cut your potatoes. Instead of ending up with a middle and two ends, we end up with three middles. Alright, we're going to go ahead and cut the onions and the potatoes, and I guess the onions. Real simple. Make sure you have the two ends lined up this way. I've seen people cut them through kind of I guess horizontally, but just cut right through. It leaves you a nice little heart in the middle, and some people, including myself, are crazy over that middle heart piece. So just right down the middle like that, and then they go into the bowl. I've also seen people cut the garlic, because garlic takes a while to get soft, but we go ahead and put them in at the very beginning and leave them whole for the people who like them. Trust me, it's strong enough that it gets through the whole bowl without it being cut or without crushing it. So those that like the garlic will suck on these cloves, and everybody will pay dearly for that the next day. Alright, now we're going to cut the sausage. A lot of people like to cut really small pieces. We're going to kind of keep it medium, not too big, not too small, to throw in there, about this size. They're going to swell a little bit while they're in there, but they'll pick up some of that extra spice, and it should be pretty tasty. A lot of people will tell you that the potatoes, the onions, and sausage are added to the bowl for the people who either don't like crawfish or just don't know how to peel them. And we'll have a separate video on the technique on how to peel crawfish a little bit later. Crawfish, actually, the whole idea of eating crawfish probably started with the Native Americans, but became kind of commercial, or at least records were starting to be recorded around the 1880s. And the total harvest or sales for crawfish in 1880 was about 23,000 pounds, and had an economic impact of just a little over $2,000. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to forget it?
It doesn't matter. So about $2,000 in 1880. Most of those back then, obviously, were all wild caught crawfish. Considering that a really good crawfish bowl in Louisiana can cost you around $1,000 today, it started out relatively small. Now, the thought is that the Cajuns are the ones that came up with this, and they played a big hand. But as I said, it was the Native Americans that were eating crawfish way before the Cajuns got here. Now, if you recall, Cajuns were ousted from parts of Nova Scotia and Canada, and then were forced to relocate after being shipped back to France and then relocated to other areas of the world, including Louisiana. Now, you can imagine, having come from Nova Scotia, that the Cajuns were very familiar, or at that time they were called the Acadians, they were very familiar with eating seafood, and in particular, lobster. So it's not a stretch to believe that, obviously, when they came down here and saw crawfish, that they put one and two together and decided that this could be good food, which it is. So now the total economic impact in Louisiana is about $300 million a year. That's crawfish sales. You can buy them locally, you can ship them nationwide, and many stores carry prepackaged frozen crawfish for you to use. Now, one comment on that is that they're starting to import foreign products that are frozen, and they'll trick you. And in fact, there's one company, Chinese company, that names their crawfish Bernards, which is a French type Cajun name, just to fool the public into thinking that they're actually getting Louisiana crawfish instead of Chinese crawfish. And the downside of that is that they taste nasty, and if you're eating those and thinking that that's what crawfish is all about, you're not only getting fooled, you're getting cheated, you're getting ripped off. So make sure that when you buy crawfish that you're getting Louisiana products. And the same thing goes for shrimp, crabs, or any other seafood. Try to buy locally. If not, make sure that you're buying United States or Louisiana products. All right, so we're pretty much ready to start. I'm going to go ahead and light up the boil. One comment about the water. I got a lot of comments last time that people were surprised I was using a hose to put water into the pot. I can tell you that I don't know of anybody that's taking bottled water and putting 5 gallons or more into a pot to boil crawfish. My particular water comes from our well. We draw from an aquifer locally that actually bottles water and ships it nationwide, if you've heard of Kentwood water. So to those people that have a problem with me using a garden hose, I'm using Kentwood spring water technically, or at least from the same aquifer that they get their water from. So there you go. And what do you want to do? What's
Do you want to talk about the mushrooms, corn, and lettuce?
Yeah, as I said before, the mushroom and corn go in last because they do not take much time to cook. She was inside at that time, so she didn't know that I said that. Some people like to cut the mushrooms, but we like ours whole. These are going to be pretty large, but they will soak up that flavor, and the mushrooms are just dynamite. If you don't like mushrooms, you need to try a mushroom from a crawfish bowl. It's a whole different experience. And okay, let's start up the fire. You're not going to be able to hear us at that point, so I want to make sure I've said everything that I want to say. Purging was a big issue too. People talking about whether or not I should purge the crawfish. We used to purge crawfish, put them in a cooler or something with water, sprinkle salt on them. That supposedly would somehow fire up their metabolism to get them to clean out their digestive tract. That's a myth as far as I know. And you know what? My mouth is watering already for crawfish, and I don't have another half an hour to wait to put them in salt to hope that works. So we've done away with that. What else? Talked about the water, vegetables, cooking time. All right. So let's get this started, and we'll pick up in a little while.